But some of them, and I'm going to give you something, some of them think that they deserve it. They've been in the business 15 years. So they already let their foot off the pedal. That is your opportunity. That is your chance. But if you're not committed more than they are, you will never replace them. Welcome to another episode of Mindset Mastery. I am your host, Araujo. Thank you, everyone, for joining me today, and we're going to get it started. Today's subject is affirmations are weak. Affirmations are weak. Now, let me explain myself. Affirmations, I think, has had a major impact in my life. Knowing what I wanted, declaring what I wanted with passion, right? But I think the reason why we don't get what we want oftentimes is that's where it stops. We just say we want these great things, but don't really open up our mind to anything beyond that, right? And one thing that I want to make clear is that affirmations are statements. And anytime we make a statement, there is no, it is a solved problem. It's a solution. It's a statement. It's a matter of fact. So when we say these affirmations and we don't ask better questions, which opens up the mind, it really shuts us down. And in fact, it could be counterproductive for us because we declare we want all these great things, but yet we're not seeing the fruits of those declarations. And we got to understand that there's a layer beyond that, which is action, which is asking better questions. But before I get there and actually break that down, I want to go ahead and talk to you a little bit about what's going on in my life. As I mentioned before, my eldest, my 14-year-old, made the varsity team on her volleyball high school team, right? Which is a big feat in itself. She's a freshman. She's a young freshman. And she actually made the volleyball team. And that was huge for all of us, right? It was a great accomplishment for her. She felt awesome. She's been playing. She's been practicing all summer long. But there's been this rude awakening for her. This understanding that, the level that she was playing at is not necessarily good enough to get her on the court at this time. And I think we've all been through that process as realtors, right? Every time we enter a new level, we find out that, hey, it's not what we thought exactly. It's not what we anticipated. The competition is more fierce than we ever thought of. The competition is doing things that we're not necessarily doing. And for Abigail, it's been a kind of an awakening here as far as the disappointments, and also for us as parents watching her sitting on the bench, and that's where she's at right now. She's a 14-year-old, and they had a 2-day competition this weekend, and she saw very little playing time. And I feel for her. And it's tough as a parent, right? And in reality, we're not the only ones going through this. There's 13 players on this team, and there's only about 7 girls that really get to heavy rotation. So I know that we're not the only ones going through this. I know it. But as a parent, I can only speak on what my experience is and how I see my daughter. And it's been a rough transition just because she's been used to being this star athlete, right, for her teams, and even for her the club teams. And now she's at this point where it's not working. Things that she was building, it's not working right now. And watching a little face, and I think we've all been through this, right? Watching a little face and just kind of knowing that she's going through some pain, but the entire time she's smiling, she's cheering her teammates on. From afar, you would think that, hey, she's content with where she's at. And, I think that as we start asking more questions, the real problems, the real feelings come out. So as we finished up the games, she walks into the car and she's just quiet. And we said, hey, Bev, how you feeling? She's like, oh, I'm okay. I'm okay, Dad. I'm okay, Mom. And I'm going to go ahead and play a little clip here. And then we're going to dive into this in a deeper level. Okay, I'm going to play a little clip about the conversation. I only caught a fraction of it. But I think this is our responsibility as parents, and also just a reminder to ourselves as entrepreneurs that we're going to face these challenges. We're going to face this stiff competition. And it's up to us to realize and decide, are we going to rise? But simply declaring it by saying affirmations, I will get on the starting lineup, it's not good enough. I will be successful. Those things are not good enough because those are simply statements. What we have to do is dig a little bit deeper and ask the better questions. So I recorded a conversation as Carla was talking to Abigail. Now let's go ahead and play that now.
Do you know I was a poor sport for years? I couldn't even congratulate nor shake nor smile at the girls who beat me. Instead, I looked at them with hate and jealousy. You, my friend, I'm proud because you are definitely a phenomenal teammate. You have great sportsmanship, man. And I didn't. And that's why I look at you like I'm proud of you. I'm beyond proud of you. To see my little girl cheering for her team and she didn't even play, and she's still out there with a smile. In which, when you get in this car, I want you to do exactly what you're doing right now. Cry, express yourself, hate whatever you need to do whatever you need to do, but you show up on that court with a smile again. Learn more about yourself this season than ever before. Do you understand me? You know your journals? I need you to attack them again and let it all out. Because I don't want you freshman year to be hateful that you're benched all over again. You'll just remember, wait, I've been here before when I was in 9th grade. This is all it is, Abigail. This is part of the sport. Do you get it? We're proud of you. If you have no idea how proud we are of you. Starbucks? Cool. Starbucks it is.
Starbucks it is. So, with Abigail, it's been one of these things where she doesn't express herself as much as we'd like for her to express herself. Growing up and starting this business, Carla and I were just really busy, and a lot of it was being in defense mode, right? We had businesses that weren't necessarily working, the economy shifting on us, so we were more on defense mode. So she learned and she adapted to not give us a hard time as we were trying to figure out how to fix these financial situations we got ourselves into, how to continue to pay our mortgages, how to stay afloat. So it's been hard for her to express herself because as she was a young kid, we always told her to not cry, to be quiet, to because we were always around clients and trying to make things happen with asset managers. So we couldn't have her express herself the way she wanted. And we're finding we're running into this big wall at times where she doesn't express herself the way she should, where I think all of us should, where we keep it in. And that's what ends up happening. What ends up happening when we keep this in, it creates other issues within us, anxieties. It creates depression. It creates dysfunctional behaviors and ways to even, let it out, right? Through maybe vices and just things that are not functional for us as not only business people, but as human beings. And for us, it's been a challenge where we're encouraging Abigail to express herself, because at first she's like stone cold. She's like, "Oh, no, it's fine. I'm fine. Mom and Dad, I'm good." And our job is to kind of break down that layer, because I don't want her to walk around with all that anger. And we have all these feelings as business owners. We have anger, we have fear, we have the doubt, we have jealousy, and we have hate. All these are feelings that are natural. And for those of us that say, well, I'm never jealous and I'm never hateful, it's consider that it's not really, you're not in truths. You're not speaking in truths. Because I think all of us go through that, especially if you're not producing at a high level. You're going to have those feelings. And not being able to come into terms with those feelings will never really allow you to grow. So that was the main focus with our conversation with Abigail, was just to focus on those feelings and understand that, this is going to come about again. Carla mentioned something about the freshman year, college freshman. She might end up on the bench as well. And I know Abigail is just a very competitive person, and so are you as a business owner. But we can't shut ourselves down when we hit these disappointments. We have to ask ourselves better questions. So one of the things that you did not hear on this conversations is we said, name us 2 things why it's good for you to be on the bench. And Abigail couldn't come up with these 2 things. She could come out with 5, 10 things of why she thought it was a bad thing, her being on the bench. She's not getting any playing time. She has no stats. She has very little touches. She is frustrated. She wants to play. So she came up with all these reasons of why it was bad, but she couldn't come to terms of why it was good. And I think in every situation, like even the darkest moments in my life, as I face financial ruin, as I face divorce, as I face disconnection, I have to realize that there was always something good about being in that place. Because real growth happens when you remember those dark moments. Because it reinforces within you and it gives you a sort of conviction. Am I going to rise above this? If I can face through these dark moments, if I could continue to navigate through these painful moments, how can I get to that next level? It really builds this capacity within us. And that's what we were trying to dive in with Abigail. It's like, find the two things. And she said, well, finally she came. As we started giving her examples, she says, it's making me understand that I really want this. How many times have we been in those dark places where we come to terms with that and understand that we really want something? And when we really want it, it's because we want to definitely get out of that position we're in right now. And then we asked her, well, how are you going to get this if you really want this? She says, I'm going to get stronger. I'm going to get faster. I'm going to practice more. What she did got her into the varsity team, what she's done, but it's not good enough to get her on the starting lineup. She knows now she has to push herself and to the to her full capacity, beyond her capacity, to be able to get on that starting lineup. And it's going to be a tough road. But sometimes when we're in these dark places, we have to ask ourselves, why is it good being here? And it's creating this beast within her. I can see it. She's becoming more determined. And sometimes when things go your way, you don't become more determined. In fact, you become complacent. So wherever you're at in your business, even though you've grown it, you know you can handle more. You know you can grow bigger and more profitable. So understand that where you're at right now is just a moment in time. And being in these dark moments will allow us to ask ourselves better questions. But if we just simply make the declaration, I want to start, it ends it there because the solution has already been there. It's a statement. It's a fact. Your brain is not looking for opportunities of how you're going to get to the next level. You simply declaring, I want to be successful, will not get you anywhere. Because you're telling yourself that you already know how to get there. So affirmations to a certain point are great. But without asking yourself better questions and then taking the necessary action, it will limit yourself. And we've all been in this position before, where we make these statements. I'd like to get this new car, but I can't afford it. I'd like to get this new computer, but I can't afford it. You know, I've been doing these open houses, but open houses just don't work. I lost this listing appointment. I'm never going to get another listing appointment. I'm never going to get another listing opportunity. These are just statements. Even something as positive as I want to be successful, these are just statements. So when you ask yourself better questions, you ask, how can I afford it? What that does is opens up your mind to now discover ways that you can go out there and get what you want. I can't afford it will get you exactly that. How can I afford it will open up your mind. That's what our brains need, is just instruction. What do you want me to do? The brain just sits there asking you, what do you want me to look for? What opportunities do you want me to discover? But if you're simply making statements, it considers it a closed deal. It closes the mind. It's solved. There's nothing more to do. It is a statement. Instead of saying, open houses just don't work, how can I make open houses work? Now you start opening up your mind. You're thinking, hey, how about I just start texting some people? How about I just go knock on some doors? How about I become this marketing machine on Facebook? Those are better questions. So one of the things that I want you just to consider as you're going and navigating throughout the day is that, one, you got to appreciate where you're at right now. And I see here, Gabe, you said she is a freshman on a varsity team. That was one of the things that we told her why it's good. That's exactly it. The first one was you're building that hunger. You're building that capacity. And the second one, Gabe, was you're a freshman on a varsity team. How neat is that? How cool is that? Because she could have all the starting time that she wanted on the JV team, on the junior varsity team. So she is good enough to pass that threshold. But there's always thresholds we have to push ourselves to. You may be good enough to pass the $5 million threshold, but what is it going to take for you to pass the $10 million threshold? And if we don't ask ourselves that question, as opposed to saying, I want to sell 10 million, I want to sell 10 million, and coming up short only to destroy your confidence, let's say I am going to get that 10 million, and I'm going to discover how. I'm going to figure this out. Now your brain is challenged to go look for how to get you there. So don't just simply make statements today. Affirmations are great, and I've said this before. Affirmations are awesome. Affirmations are great, but at some point you have to do the work. But before that, it's like asking ourselves what we need to do. We have to direct our minds. So we always have these thresholds. And I like what you're saying here, Michelle. Remember the pain and the darkness you went through as you shift. And I think as entrepreneurs, as realtors, we forget the pain points because we're so focused to get out of it that we don't realize that we got to remember the pain points. One, there is a strong possibility we may end up there again. And we got to remind ourselves, I was here before and I got out. Not have it debilitate you that you're in this place because we conveniently forgot we've been there before. These are things that we have to remember. And sometimes the pain is so immense, so deep, that we commit we will never go back to those patterns again. And that's what I did. The pain points of building a business without a strong foundation. I never want to go to that place again. The pain points of not showing up as a powerful man and what it did to my marriage. I never, ever want to go back there again. And those pain points is what fuels me today to continue to show up powerfully each and every day. Not only for myself, but for my business as a father, because I remember and I understand how it used to be. And we have to take that with us so we can avoid the peaks and valleys in our businesses. Because as soon as we start making money, we forget about the pain points. And that's when we start easing off. We get 3 or 4 deals into escrow and then we let off because we forgot how it used to be. Not realizing you're one step closer to getting to that place at the moment you stopped, at the moment you thought you had it all figured out. Competition is stiff and they're not going to let up. And Abigail's ability to get on that starting line is only as good as how committed the competition is. And they're very committed. These 17-year-olds are not going to allow a 14-year-old to take their place. And that's the reality. This 17-year-old starter is not going to allow this 14-year-old to come in and take her place. So Abigail's going to have to work 10 times as hard. And these realtors that were here years before you were, do you think they're going to give up their market share? Hell no. But some of them, and I'm going to give you something, some of them think that they deserve it. They've been in the business 15 years. So they already let their foot off the pedal. That is your opportunity. That is your chance. But if you're not committed more than they are, you will never replace them. You will never get their market share. You will be one of those that continue to struggle in this business. The only way you will survive and thrive in this business is by taking others' market share. So see that as your opportunity. You have to work 10 times as hard as somebody that's been in the game 10, 15 years. Understanding that role will fuel you on a daily basis. That is the only thing that can fuel Abigail. And guess what? The competition will become complacent. That's where you strike. But if you don't build up the capacity, the skill sets, and the mindsets to even be in that conversation, even if they ease off, you will never get that market share. Somebody else will. So let's get on it. I think we each understand that asking ourselves better questions and working hard towards what that statement is, what that affirmation is the only way we're going to achieve what we want. So continue to make those affirmations. But you got to reinforce it with the right questions, followed by the right actions. Guys, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for joining me for another episode of Mindset Mastery. And I like this, Yoni. Pain points are important. They're not easy to go through, but it is a stepping stone to a higher level. The greatest achievements that I've had have been because of those dark moments, of those painful moments. And guess what? One of two things always happens in those painful moments. You quit. You either quit or you thrive. And that's what I love. And if Abigail can just see that within her, and I see that hunger in her eyes, and I know what kind of mindset she has, she's going to get after it. But if it wasn't because of this, she would never, ever get to where she's going. So as you're facing these challenges, appreciate the moment, because if it wasn't for this challenge, you will never get to that next level. Thank you again for joining me for another episode of Mindset Mastery. I hope you all have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.